Hello everybody, Average Gamer here. Welcome to, Let's Play as Madagascar, but this is actually going to be a twofer. I'm actually going to be putting this into my tutorial series as well. But this is, overall, who consumes what and who produces what. So these are your basics. So there's no advanced things like hydroponics or synthetic, composite metals or synthetic rubbers or anything like that. This is just your basic numbers of your basic stuff, mainly because, as you can see, there's a lot of stuff and it's taken me over an hour and a half to kind of break down these numbers just by myself. So what you're looking at on the right here is consumption for industrial goods, consumer goods, military goods, and power. And then below that is the annual production value, or the amount average, or the average amount maximum output of all of one production capacity of each one. So yeah, agriculture, rubber, wood, coal, oil, metal, uranium, consumer goods, industrial goods, and last but not least, military goods. Now, power is not in there. The main reason why power is not in there is because power, there's so many different types of power, so I just kind of left that one out. Mainly because as time progresses as well, you can get multiple different types of power that can produce astronomical amounts of power, like your dark energy and stuff like, and stuff like that. So that stuff I've just kind of set aside. I also didn't include the small or micro for the industrial goods, consumer goods, and military goods. Left those out. And as I said, I left out the composite ores, synthetic rubbers, things like your hydroponics and stuff like that. Left all those out as well because in my eyes, a lot of that stuff is you only utilize it if you can't use it within your country. So if you have no rubber, you have to use synthetic rubber and all that stuff. Overall, the numbers are usually pretty good. You can tell easily how much those are going to consume because it tells you, right? So overall, I wanted to mention a few things. Number one, your country naturally produces three things: power, wood, and food. So depending on what your population is and how many cities you have, your power can get produced. Timber gets produced naturally depending on what your population is. As your population goes down, obviously you produce less wood, and same with agriculture, food, right? So I played around. These are under, we'll say, very ideal circumstances. Supply ranges from 95 to 100%. So these things are getting supplied almost exactly what they need. So this is what they're consuming. So first off, for industrial goods we're consuming at almost, and I've averaged, I've also, for the consumption, I've kind of moved up my my numbers a little bit, kind of averaged them out. So on the right is the annual amount it wants, on the left is the daily. So for oil, for industrial goods, it needs 11,000 oil a day, or just over, tiny bit over 4 million barrels a year. Okay, for coal, it needs 400,000 for both coal and metal a day. So for tons, 400 tons per industrial goods factory. It needs that much right there, which is, when you do the math, 146,000 tons a year. It's a lot. And then power-wise, it uses up 5,500 megawatts per day, or when you actually average it out at the end, it ends up being just a little bit over 2 million megawatts a year. So that's for industrial goods. So if you're planning out what you need to build for your country and all that stuff, here is some of the good stuff. Now, I want to mention as well, I don't have things like agriculture, rubber plants, timber, or logging, we'll say logging companies, like logging locations, dikes, or oil pumps, coal mines, metal mine, or any of the three mines that are in the game, because none of those actually consume anything. The other thing they consume is industrial goods at the time they're being constructed, and then they produce their own power for themselves, basically. So you don't really have to worry about power for them. All you have to worry about is money for them, and that's it. Power is mostly used for people and your three major good producers. So the next one is consumer goods. Consumer goods is, in my eyes, the one that really shocked me when I broke down the numbers. And once again, high supply rate of 95 to 100%. I think this one was sitting at about 97 when I did it. So yeah, the numbers are a little astonishing. First off, it uses up 1,000 consumer goods a day, or up to 365,000 a year. Makes sense, right? Rubber, it uses up 200 units of rubber, or 200 tons of rubber a day, or 73,000 a year. Oil, it uses up 7,800. I rounded it up a little bit, but I mean, you could say 8,000. But 7,800 oil a day, or when you break it down, 2.8 million rubber a year. So basically 3 million rubber a year. So you got to pay attention to that. Metal, it uses up 800 metal a day, or when you broke it down, it was 292,000 a year. Forgot a bracket there. Power for the consumer goods, to me, this was the most astonishing. I never realized just how much power these things use, but they use up 6,000 units of power a day. So when you average it out to an annual value amount, it's 5.8 million megawatts a year for one factory. 5.8, so almost 6 million megawatts. That's equal, so one consumer goods factory is equal to at least, because one theoretical nuclear power plant, if you look down the bottom there, well actually that's not what you uses, but its annual output, depending on where it is and its supply, could be up to almost 1 million. So that's 6 nuclear power plants per consumer goods. So yeah, that's a lot. What do you think about it? If you want to build consumer goods, you're going to need at least 6 nuclear power plants to power just the one. So gotta get those sciences, gotta get that science and that research in there to get those those bonuses. The next one is military goods. So the military goods used up 2,000 industrial goods at a rate of 730,000 a year. It used up 50 rubber, or roughly 18 and a quarter, or 18,250 per year annually. It used up 30,000 oil per year, or basically just over it was 10. Yeah, just shy of 11 million a year. So it actually uses up a lot of oil. 11 million a year. So it's not so bad. I mean, that's basically one oil derrick or oil pump can do roughly 22 million, which we'll get into in a moment. So that's not so bad. Metal, it needs 300 metal a day, or 10,000 or 109,500 a year. And last but not least, power. It uses up way less power than the consumer goods. It uses up 6,000 power a day, or basically when you broke down the numbers, 2.2 million megawatts a year. And remember, nuclear power plants, if they're 100% supplied and in good shape, do 900,000 with no buffs. So always got to keep that in mind. Next thing is power themselves, what they consume. So overall, their output, as I said again, for power and a lot of other stuff I didn't put down here because it changes. The maximum output for these things can be anything from, well, we're going to get into that. So I just let the general three major consumers for power: nuclear, oil, and coal. So for oil uses up 1,500 units of oil, or barrels of oil per day. Or when you think about it, it's about 500,000 barrels of oil a year, which really isn't that bad. Now the output obviously depends on its supply and how much oil it can get. So we'll leave that at that. Coal uses up 800 tons of coal a day, or annually around 300,000, 292 to be exact. And last but not least, nuclear power uses up 100 tons a day, or annually 36,500 tons. So those are the units of consumption for the power as well. So for people to kind of look at that one. The next one is annual production value. So this is what's produced by the base, we'll say the base things. Once again, I left power out, and I left out the higher tier stuff, mainly because there's just so much stuff. Just so much stuff. You got your composite ores and all that. In my eyes, they're not really worth it anyways for the amount they can produce versus how much they cost. The power stuff, on the other hand, that stuff gets really, really good later on. So this is just your usual starting stuff, your basics. So annual production value. So for agriculture, the average or maximum output you're going to see from a completely supplied, amazing located, like perfectly located piece of agriculture is roughly 308,122 or 300. Now that's exact. Now, can they produce more than that? Yes. Can they produce less than that? Yes. But this is what you're going to be looking at as an average. Doesn't matter where it is. This is your generic average for your agriculture. As I said, you could go up if you put it in a really good spot. If you have research, it can go up even higher. But this is the average. Rubber is just shy of 20,000. It's 19,053 for a rubber plant. Yet again, if you put it on a really good location, it'll do a lot better. If it's in really good supply, it'll do even better. So that's the average for the rubber. For wood, for the lumber mills, they do 118,000. Sorry, my bad. 1,181,898 board feet of wood per year. Now, once again, if they're in a better located better located spot, say for example they're in a really, really good spot, they can produce way more than that. If they're in a worse spot, they can produce less. Supply as well is a big factor. Oil, 22.8 million barrels of oil per year if it's in a okay spot. Coal, 1.4 tons. 1.4 million, tons per year of coal if located in a okay spot. Metal, 357,000. Uranium, 300,000. Consumer goods, 431,000. Industrial goods, 95,000. And last but not least, military goods at 102,000. So once again, these are if you locate them or put them in a okay spot with okay supply. If you can supply them a lot better and locate them in a very, very lucrative location, you can crank out more than this on an average amount. Now, when you divide these things right by 365, you'll get your daily numbers. Didn't do dailies on these ones because some of them are pretty small, like 200, 300, and 4,000, 2,000, things like that. It's not hard. You just take the number, divide it by 365. Overall, the reason why I did annual is because you can see the annual above us. So, for example, oil. Oil for consumer goods, industrial goods, military goods, and all that stuff. If we didn't include the power in it, say we're using nuclear power, overall rubber we would need. That's 10, 11. We need about 15 to 20 million barrels to power to have enough oil for military goods, consumer goods, and industrial goods. So all you got to do is build one oil derrick or oil pump. Sorry. And you got it. You're good to go. You are GTG for all that stuff. Anything more you build, you can obviously sell that off. Now, mind you, that's all averages, right? Your consumption is pretty much set. Like these are the 100% numbers. So if they're all under 100% supply, this is exactly what they're asking for. So as long as you can go and supply them the max that they need and go above that, you are basically bank and bank. You can sell that stuff. As long as your consumption is lower than your production, you can sell it. Now, mind you, these are round numbers, especially the average production values, because the production values can go up and they can go down, depending on, like I said, supply and location. You know, I've got things that produce way more than expected when doing this test, because they were in 100% supply. So always got to think of that. Always got to think of that. But there you go. Those are the generic numbers for consumption and production for annual, for the major components of the game. Couple things here that are not included, obviously, are the higher tier technologies. I'm talking, you know, dark energy, antimatter power, composite metals, synthetic rubbers, synthetic oils, hydroponics, and things like that. As I said, a lot of those things, other than the power, in my eyes, is not worth it. And even when you've gone up to like dark energy and antimatter and things like that, as long as you're still producing your older stuff, you're gonna laugh. This is no worries about all your other stuff. So, anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.